On October 25th, 1994, my hometown, Union, South Carolina, was rocked by the news of a carjacking where two children had been abducted. Michael and Alex Smith had been kept by the carjacker as their mother was forced from the vehicle. This sparked a nationwide search for the boys, trying to find the described African-American male and the red Mazda protege that they were in. My hometown was left to deal with the racial divide from this reported story as the search continued. For 9 days, people were questioned over and over. Those who were directly involved, related to the children of their mother, and random people who matched the suspect.
News programs declaring their innocence and pleading for the return of Michael and Alex.
My first reaction is it hurts to know that that I would be accused or even thought that I would ever do anything to harm my children. As a mother, it's only a natural instinct to protect your children from any harm. And the hardest part of this whole ordeal is not knowing if your children are getting what they need to survive. And it hurt. It hurts real bad.
No one could think of anyone in our town that would simply steal someone's children. After pressing from Sheriff Wells, Susan cracked and confessed as to what really happened. Susan had been in the midst of a divorce from her husband David and was dating a local man whom she learned that did not want children. He stated that he did not want a ready-made family. Between her divorce and the relationship with her boyfriend, Tom Finley, ending, she was distraught. She believed that she had nowhere to go. Susan had driven to John D. Long Lake, a small body of water close to the Chester County line. She had placed her vehicle at the top of the boat ramp and was initially going to kill herself, but could not go through with it. Susan then placed the car into neutral and watched as she rolled it into the lake with her sons, 14-month-old Alex and 3-year-old Michael, still inside. She then made up the elaborate lie that someone had forced her from the vehicle after having to have her drive several miles away from the local Milliken plant that she had been driving by when the supposed carjacking occurred. The news of this crime further devastated my small community. Not only has this caused large amounts of racial tension and animosity across the county at the time, wasted valuable resources and officers' time, but now the residents would face the loss of 2 innocent children that they saw on a regular basis. This shock still remains to this day, and never does a day pass that the boys aren't thought of. I was born the year after Alex and Michael were killed. I've never known a world where the act of filicide was unheard of. My mom recounts when the news was broken. She was just 26 years old at the time, the same age that I am now, and remembers just how appalling it was to learn that a mother could do this to her own children. It was really something that we never thought about. Sure, we all knew that the baby blues were a thing, but nobody once thought a mother could be capable of drowning her children, and especially not to lie about it. Now this town is synonymous with her name. You leave, someone asks, "Where are you from?" Almost 30 years later, no matter the person's age, you say Union, South Carolina, and you get, "Oh, where Susan Smith is from." It's inescapable. David Smith has gone on to remarry, having a son and a daughter. Tom Finley was last stated to have moved to another South Carolina town, where he was working as a graphic artist, or to have moved back to his home state of Alabama. Susan is still held at Leith Correctional Institution in Greenwood, South Carolina. She will become eligible for parole in 2024. In an article for the New York Times written last year, Gabrielle Fonrouge writes, "My guess now is she's probably made the turn and realized all of that is getting her nowhere and it's time to turn her life around and start living in such a manner to prove that she's a worthy candidate for parole at some point," Attorney Osment stated. But the people of South Carolina remember Smith's crime all too well, the attorney said. Even if she was a saint during her entire prison sentence, the public, and certainly the parole board, have not forgotten the viciousness of her crime and the stain that it left on the community. The emotion behind the murders carries much more weight than the probability Smith will reoffend, Osmond explained. "It is highly unlikely that Susan will make parole, at least not the first time," Osmond said. "Based on how I see our parole board operating, I think Susan's going to have strong law enforcement and victim opposition, and that single factor many times weighs more than everything else." The people of Union County, myself included, have strong hopes that Smith will not make parole in 2024. She may have had many personal issues at hand, but for this county, that will never cover up the fact that she murdered a 14-month-old and a 3-year-old.